without further ado, we'll get started. We're going to talk about where healing comes from. And so, Mark, you and I were talking a little bit about like, where does this start? And you were kind of talking about the dance of liking versus disliking and wanting to be happy versus not wanting to suffer. Can you start there and kind of go into what that looks like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that it is sort of that is the dance, right? Our anything that's alive is sort of orienting around that you call it a feedback loop, wanting to be happy, not wanting to suffer, approach avoidance, right? You gravitate to things that make you feel better, and you move away from things that don't and that are threatening, and that basic programming operates at every level of scale in the living world. Everything operates around that pivot, and so if you want to gain an understanding of your own life and see how you perhaps are manifesting some things that you would prefer not to, learning to track what your attention goes to and habitually, and what it gets fixated on is a really good place to start. And the other thing that people need to know, because it's not a character flaw, people need to know that if you happen to focus on negativities, that's not saying something about you. That's saying something about everything that's alive. It's more important to pay attention to the lion than it is to the hot cave lady. And so if you're a caveman on the savannah in Africa, your attention is going to go towards the lion first, because if you don't handle your business with the lion, you're not handling the business with you're not in relationship with that cave lady. So negativities have a stronger pull on our attention, and just see if that's not true in your daily life right now. When you go to sleep tonight, just notice what topics your attention is drawn to, and whether it's things in your life that you are utterly grateful for, or things that you're worried about. And unless you have a very intentional practice, gratitude practice, mostly people's minds gravitate towards the things that they're worried about, and that's just an example of the negative, what's called the negative attentional bias. So that if you add that up over many years, that habit of focusing on negativities can actually produce significant it affects your health in a negative way. So
I always say, the negative always tends to get the louder microphone. That's what I always say. We'll find ourselves talking about something that's wrong or complaining when like so much good has happened in the same day, but the negativity tends to try to own that microphone, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that's biology, and you don't have a choice over that. You can monitor and modify that, and you can begin to develop an alternative habit. And that's kind of what we're talking about in this Facebook Live, is like developing that alternative habit. Like, where would you put your attention if you weren't putting it on negativities?
Well, we're going to learn tonight. We're going to learn how to walk away from tonight with some skills to divert that attention from the negative and set an intention. So as we're kind of getting through kind of the why, maybe you can talk about the what, as in, I would say one of your, signature teachings if you will, are the three transcendentals.
Yeah. Okay. And so what are the three transcendentals? And I do teach this in class number one of Skillfully Aware because it's so fundamental to what we're talking about right now. It's literally trying to take conscious control over the habits of your attention, those biological habits of attention going towards negativities and amplifying negativities. If you want to make a change, you have to amplify something else. And so what the three transcendentals are goodness. And so goodness can be defined in it's a very relational. All of these are relational, but goodness is a felt sense when you come into contact with an object that you love, a person, a smell, um, a sense of comfort, a sense of safety, a sense of love, cooperation, um, kindness and compassion. Um, in all those ways, when human beings get together, if they're considerate of one another, considerate of the grounds, it's just like it's you're amplifying goodness, and this quality goodness um, produces biochemical changes in your body. You actually produce, in the moment that you're feeling connected, you're producing more oxytocin and endorphins. These are the love chemicals and the feel good chemicals, and you're changing your orientation to the moment that you're experiencing when you notice and you amplify goodness. The other transcendental beauty is also hard to describe it, but you know it when you see it. We had in Tucson today a beautiful storm, and when it rains in the desert, I mean, Tucsonans were in heaven. And this
Mm-hmm.
was one of those beautiful storms where the clouds were thick and low to the ground, and yet the sun poked through, especially when it was sundown, and some of the most amazing and beautiful light came through and just illuminated all the green that's around in the desert now, and and that sense of beauty is also um, wellness producing, health producing, and then lastly, truth. And truth, um, it's hard to describe why truth makes things better. Um, but when you can orient towards the way things actually exist, then you're not swimming upstream against sort of facts on the ground and what you know to be true. And also, I would say, learning to notice the truth of yourself and the values that you hold and holding to that. So truth and honesty, beauty, truth, and goodness in this way produces, if you focus on these three transcendentals, produces a person who is um, intentionally kind, purposeful, engaged with life, working on him or herself, has good relationships, and is creating, in essence, I want to say a moving pattern, energetic pattern that is sort of a felt sense that begins this pattern of beauty, truth, and goodness that pervades all of these activities, and is shared in relationship between people, starts to magnify and amplify these qualities in
Mm-hmm.
in that relational space, and so business works better, customers are happier, communications are more clear, relationships are more deep and intimate and authentic. And when all of that happens, every study shows that when people can get together and there's harmony in relationships, a harmonious tribe or cohort is one of the most health producing things you can possibly do. And so if things aren't going well in your life right now, instead of just focusing on let's take another pill, maybe begin to see where in your life you could begin to amplify more beauty, truth, and goodness. And because that's the root, that's where the ultimate change and the ultimate healing is going to come from. Because by definition, more beauty, more truth, and more goodness that's the definition of improvement in every situation.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I completely agree with getting the tribe together and seeing that beauty, truth, and goodness that's around you. And it is also not easy to do, right? Especially when things are a little bit rough.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you can go through just a couple of, concrete examples. And if anyone wants to give us a concrete example to run through this beauty, truth, and goodness, please feel free to comment.
Like how would we apply it? Is that what you're asking me, Nick?
Yeah, maybe I have a chronic pain, or maybe I'm depressed.
Yeah. Okay.
How can I go from that to utilizing this?
Let me just use the example of chronic pain simply because everybody's had pain, not chronic pain, and pain can't be denied when you feel it. Okay, and so focusing on beauty, truth, and goodness is not about stopping pain. Okay, I want to get that really clearly across. Just like focusing on beauty, truth, and goodness is not about healing depression. Okay, so we're using two types of pain here. We're using a physical pain and a psychological pain, okay? But they're both pain, and both situations are situations of distress. Yeah? Okay, so the orientation, the intention is just to amplify beauty, truth, and goodness. The intention is not to heal the pain, stop the pain, or to heal or stop the depression. Simply because if you focus your intention on the healing, the pain, the specific pain, or the depression, then your focus, then the sense of you is in relationship with the pain or the depression. Do you follow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So rather focus your attention, because what your attention does, there's a connection between you, the subject, and the object, and the interaction between the two. So everything you pay attention to, that's what you're in relationship with. And so rather than focus on the pain, you can acknowledge the pain and the depression because they must be acknowledged. These are situations that want improvement, and the desire for improvement is super important. And don't give that up. Hold the desire for improvement, but the improvement is going to come not by focusing on the pain or on the depression, but actually focusing on whatever in your local environment is more beautiful and truthful or good. Okay, so that doesn't mean that when you shift your focus that pain disappears and you're out of your depression. Doesn't mean that at all. It means that there's a little bit of improvement, and that's all you're looking for. Let me tell you a story, okay? My friend Jim, I love him a lot. He is a naturalist and super bright, and he has an artist's mentality. He feels the world very deeply. And so he has very high highs and low lows. And so he's actually susceptible to falling into depression. And he actually doesn't know how it happens, just falls into depression. And his bouts of depression can last a long time. And so one day he was walking near his home, and there was a pond, and it was in the fall. And Jim has this habit of getting naked and jumping into cold water. One of the
Okay.
things, one of the things that I love about him, he will jump in freezing cold water. I love that about Jim. And
All
so
right.
Jim's like, I'm gonna just, I feel depressed. I don't know how to shake this, but I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna do what I do, which is jump in water. So he's swimming across the water, and he notices a bee stuck on the surface of the water, and he's kind of afraid of bees, but he's also a dear heart and he wants to save the bee. And so all of his attention went towards, now think of this, goodness and beauty, all wrapped up in this little act of saving a bee. And so the bee's on the back of his hand, and he's a little afraid, and he's so super, so that fear kind of focuses attention, but he's holding in his mind, he just wants to be good. I just want this to be good. And he got back to the shore, and he got the bee off. It didn't sting him. And all of a sudden he realized, he put his clothes back on, he realized, he's like, whoa, I'm not depressed anymore. Okay. And so folks, I'm not saying that that's going to happen to everybody, but what I'm saying is shifting your focus truly towards these three transcendentals is where the healing will come from. Now, in the sense of chronic pain often won't behave that way. I've had chronic pain. Let me tell you how I got rid of. I had 5 years of pain in my elbow. I had tennis elbow. Not that I played tennis, but long story of how I got it. So, but anyway, and I had injected it with myself with cortisone. I had been taking pills for this. 5 years of pain in my elbow, and I decided, because I know about chronic pain, that's my boogie, right? And so I decided to apply everything I know to my own situation. And so I went into my own gym, and I picked up 2.5 pounds on this little bar, and so 1.5 pounds each. Can you imagine? And that still hurt. I remember when I had this pain, I couldn't pick up a glass of juice. That's how much it hurt. Wow. And I realized that picking up this 1.5 pounds with one arm was not going to rip my tendon off the bone. Was it going to hurt? Yes. But was it going to rip the tendon off the bone? Absolutely not. I was not going to cause harm, even though there was going to be hurt. And so in my gym, all by myself, January 1st, 2007, I started a program where I'm like, I'm going to lift, and here's how I lifted.
The madman Jim.
So all I did was I used my body to focus on an emotion of utter joy. And so I did laughter yoga while I lifted this weight. And again, what am I doing? I'm shifting my focus, and even just doing that, I can my chemistry change. I can totally feel like I just juiced myself with all these feel-good chemicals. And that's what my body needed. My body didn't need any more cortisone or ibuprofen. I had enough of that toxic stuff. And what my body needed was chemicals that came from a healthy body. And so how are you going to do it when you're not healthy? You got to fake it until you make it. And so I just focused on some goodness, some beauty, some laughter. And there was some truth in there too, because I knew that this process was going to walk me back from that pain. And within 3 months, I was 50% better. And this is after 5 years, mind you. And within the year, it took a whole year for it to completely go away. And I haven't had it since. So this is the power of just focusing on beauty, truth, and goodness. And you have to get with, very hard to heal alone, get with some people, get a group together, take a class, get engaged in ideas and information like we are right now, and keep it alive. You got to stay intentional. Did I miss you? Did you just, there you are. Okay. I lost you for a sec there. So that's what it's all about. That's the message, get involved in your own healing. And obviously I'm here to help. I want you to be happy. So,
yeah. Well, those are some great examples. And we're all thinking about naked swimming with a bee now in cold water.
Yeah.
So we're all experiencing some joy there and some laughter, thinking about what that must be like. So that's a cool thing to leave us with.
Yeah.
And so those are some great specific examples. We did promise one takeaway, and I think that really is the takeaway. As you said, you're kind of talked about setting an intention, essentially.
That's
maybe,
the intentional part, because after we get off of this Zoom video, this Facebook Live, the information is great, but I am going to be a dream to you in just like 2 minutes, and then you're going to get into your life, and your attention will go wherever it's gone in the past. And so if you don't set an intention right now to, before you go to bed, recall your day. Think of all the things that perhaps there's a little bit of a gap between how you wanted to show up and how you did show up. And think about how you want to do it better next time. How you're going to amplify the goodness a little bit more next time. Plant a seed where the next time you're in this situation, you're gonna do it more skillfully. You're gonna add a little more goodness. You're tomorrow on the way to work, you're gonna focus on a little bit more of the beauty, whatever it is, but set the intention right now. Because if you don't set the intention, you're not going to plant the seed in your consciousness, and you're not going to remember. And then it's going to be same old, same old.
Yeah. Let's just set one intention for even a specific time tomorrow. Okay. On my way to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on this.
And then the other thing, Nick, we should mention is, if you want to join a free meditation class for 21 days, really what that class is all about is setting intentions and practicing a little bit and getting more engaged in your internal space, amplifying beauty, truth, and goodness inside of you first. And that's what the practice is all about. How would a person do that, Nick?
So just go to skillfullyaware.com. We will share the link right here in the chat box, and I'll share it now. And all you do is go there. Right there, it says sign up for 21 days of meditation. It's great. Every morning you'll get a new meditation email mailed to you right in your inbox. Guided meditation from Mark, including some great words about how to really dig in.